Usain Bolt.
Okay.
He is from Jamaica, which is a country well known for their sprinters. And just listen to a few of his accomplishments. I think you'll remember this guy.
All right.
He's the first man to hold both the 100-meter and the 200-meter world records since they instituted the fully automated timing system. The first guy to hold both, the 100 and the 200. In addition, along with his teammates, he set the world record in the 4x100 meters relay as well. So super fast. He's the reigning Olympic champion in all three of those events, the first man to win 6 Olympic gold medals in sprinting, and an 8-time world champion. He was the first to achieve a double-double by winning the 100 and the 200-meter titles at consecutive Olympics.
Wow.
So he won both the 100 and the 200 in the 2008 and the 2012 Olympics. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he topped that by doing the first double-triple when he and his teammates won once again the 4x100 meter relay.
The following Olympics?
No, the same Olympics.
Wow, that's amazing. Kind of the
6
Michael
Olympic
Phelps.
gold medals.
Michael Phelps of running. Right?
Well, beyond Michael Phelps. He destroyed Michael Phelps' 200-meter record. Or not Michael Phelps, I'm sorry. You're right. You're talking about Michael Phelps.
Yeah, he's kind of the Michael Phelps of running.
Of track and field.
Getting all those gold medals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's also the highest paid track and field athlete ever.
Cool.
So he's doing well financially. And he's really just amazing. Just nothing short of amazing. But here's the cool thing. It looks like Usain Bolt might have some competition that he didn't bargain for.
Oh.
This is interesting. You probably maybe have heard this. Maybe you haven't heard this story, but a Japanese sprinter. His name is Hidekichi Miyazaki, or something close to that.
Okay.
Something like that. He wants to challenge Usain Bolt to a 100-meter showdown. Now, as we know, Usain Bolt is known as the fastest man on Earth. Mm-hmm. Mr. Miyazaki is the fastest centenarian on Earth.
Wait, centenarian. Something about 100 there.
Yes, so he is currently 103 years old.
Oh my goodness, I saw something about this.
Did you see the story? Did you see the headline?
Yes.
And he actively competes in senior and master events, and he holds the world record for the 100 meters for the 100 to 104-year age group.
And it wasn't a joke. He really wants to do this.
He wants to challenge Usain Bolt.
Wow.
To a 100-meter race. His world record, Mr. Miyazaki's world record, is 29.83 seconds, which at 103 years old is still moving.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's still pretty fast. Incidentally, Usain Bolt's record for the 100 is 9.58 seconds.
Ooh. So we kind of know what's going to happen there.
He might need a head start.
Yeah.
Mr. Miyazaki might need a head start. But you got to root for the underdog.
Yeah,
I like his chances. I like his chances. I think, who knows? You got to root for him.
And if Bolt takes a nap on the way, you know what I mean?
Like the tortoise and the hare. Maybe he'll come out on top.
Maybe he'll come out on top. I know.
So Mr. Miyazaki, he was a bit of a late bloomer. He began competing at 92 years old. And he's got a good 10 years of experience now under his belt. And he says he'd love to race Usain Bolt. When he was asked the secret of his success, he credits his daughter's tangerine jam for his ability to run so quickly at 103 years old.
I want some.
That sounds good to me too. But just think about that for a minute. His daughter has got to be like in her 80s.
Yes.
Like his daughter is in her 80s.
You think his little girl, but that's Grammy.
No, that's right. She's in her 80s. She's putting together this jam so that her father can run faster than any 103-year-old has ever run before.
The coolest part of that story, Kyle, was the fact that you said he started
at age 92. Isn't that amazing?
I always love stories like that.
I love it too. So speaking of running fast, we have joining us in the studio today, Mr. Steven Bennet. Steve, thanks for being with us today.
You betcha. Glad to be here.
We appreciate that you would take time out of your busy schedule. Steven is a physical therapist, and his specialty is running mechanics and also injuries. He's helped train many runners to run faster while avoiding injuries, and he currently works at Mountainland Rehabilitation, both at Sun River and in Ivans.
Yep.
And along with training runners, he also treats all types of injuries, including neurological injuries. And he helps athletes using computerized EMG to increase performance. And his goal is basically to help you run faster. So that's awesome. Steve, thanks for, again, being with us today.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. So we want to talk about some of your expertise and the things that you do and how you can help people run faster and better. But really briefly and quickly, give us just a quick overview about yourself. How did you get into physical therapy? Kind of, how you chose that route and how you got to where you are.
Well, grew up in Houston, Texas. Athlete, always hurt. Had the bum luck of always getting hurt, always in the trainer's room.
Always the injured one. Huh?
Yeah, so I got to be friends with all the trainers and the therapists, and really got to like it. So I went to BYU, got exercise science degree, and then went down to Houston. Trained for 2 years doing a residency in neuro sports training and neuro rehab for spinal cord and stroke patients. And then went back to University of Alabama at Birmingham and did more research on sports training and neurological rehab. And then came back here to Utah.
Awesome. So here you are at home and doing what you've grown to love.
Yep.
And so even from a young age, even from high school, you thought, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I want to help people.
It's kind of fun watching somebody get you better. So I wanted to do that.
Awesome. Very good.
What are, now I'm guessing that in your programs that you do and the analysis that you do and that to help people run faster, I'm guessing that the jam is not part of that.
Maybe we better make it part of it.
Maybe we better contact
It's hard to argue with the success
Give me that phone number.
of the Tangerine Jam, right?
Yes.
Exactly, Tangerine Jam. But no, just curious, what are some of the most common injuries? What are the things that prevent people from really reaching their goals as far as speed, and what do you do to treat those?
Well, running's kind of the new thing in the last 10 years. It's just bloomed and blossomed. There's tons of runners, especially here in southern Utah, all over the world. And in my company, Mountainland Rehab, we hired a guy named Brian Heiderscheit. He's the leading running expert in the country out of University of Wisconsin. And we've been training with him every month for 2 years, learning how to treat injuries, any type of injury. And then also we do a video analysis where we break down every little thing that a person does when they run. Their cadence, every angle, their body, their feet, their knees, their elbows, heel strike, stride length, everything. We break it down and then we go over it with a person and try to educate them, teach them, what it means. And that's kind of the big strength of what we do. It's all science. This guy, Brian Heiderscheit, is everything he teaches. There's no anecdotal stuff. It's all science, journal-based science. And we break it down, teach the person what it means, and then teach them how to implement it. And then I have a really, really good trainer, a lady named Tiffany Gust, who implements what I give to the people. So I train them, and then she trains them how to do it, which is actually kind of hard.
So when just as a follow-up on that, when people come to you, it sounds like whether they're a sprinter or they're a 5K runner, 10K, half marathon, or marathon runner, so it doesn't matter if it's sprint or long distance, they come to you for two reasons. One, to understand how they run and to increase their speed that way. Mm-hmm. And then two would be to figure out why this joint or that tendon is bothering them in their run, and you help them in both regards.
Yeah, basically, if they have an injury and they're a runner, we can fix it. And then the other thing is if they want to run faster and not have injuries, we can smooth out their mechanics. Again, all scientific based through research. We know all the angles, everything to get somebody to run at, their cadence.
That's actually really interesting to me.
I think so too.
I mean, to be able, I'm not a great runner, you know that, Kyle, but I've run several 5Ks, a few 10Ks, some tries, and I've done some half marathons. I don't know if I can do the full marathon thing yet, but to know that whether I'm having an issue that needs to be fixed, or to just know that you could help me improve what I'm doing, and prevent injury, that's really interesting to me. So I know Kyle's got a question, but I've just got this follow-up. What do I do? Like, if I'm listening to that right now and I think, I want to do that, I just contact your company and say, hey, I'd
Mountainland Rehab, 767-9094. We've done runners from 12 to 85. A real wide gamut. I work out at Sun River and then at Snow Canyon Clinic out in Ivins. And our Sun River Clinic, we actually get a lot of older people coming in, more mature people coming in. And we got some good runners out there that run, but we get from all over St. George. We get some from Cedar City, from Vegas that come up. to train with us in rehab and run faster.
Wow. Well, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life, and we're visiting with Steve Bennet, who is a physical therapist at Mountain Land Rehabilitation, and we're talking about the things that they can do to help people run faster. And you mentioned earlier that running has kind of become this new phenomenon, and of course running races and running is not a new phenomenon. I mean, human beings have been running since the beginning of time, but there has been a real explosion of races of all kinds, everything from your weekend 5K to the half marathons, the marathons, even the ultra marathons. And so that's kind of an exciting time, and a lot of people are seeing and recognizing the long-term exercise benefits of being active and healthy, and running tends to be one of the things that people jump into.
Yeah, they did. We some science behind that. What you just said. They've done studies that runners live longer.
Really?
There's actually some scientific studies that show that runners live longer. That runners, their joints. There's some myths out there that say running can hurt your joints, your back, and your knees.
I've heard that.
Runners have less arthritis.
Really?
There's some neat studies out there that show the benefits of running that are surprising. It's pretty good for you.
Well, that's cool. That's good to know. I mean, I think everybody assumes that running is good for your heart and your lungs and your muscle and so forth and so on. But to hear some of these running myths debunked, I think is exciting. I was under the assumption that you wear yourself out eventually. You do it for a certain amount of time, and then you've got to kind of change what you do. So that's cool. So running is actually okay for your joints and your back and
very much
those kinds of things. Great. Now you mentioned that you do an evaluation of runners, and I'm thinking is that the EMG that we talked about in the intro? What is an EMG?
The EMG is where you measure the electrical activity of the brain that's going to specific muscles.
Okay.
It's a little bit different from the running analysis. I actually use that for mostly basketball players and volleyball players who want to jump higher. Down in Houston, we did some research and found out the optimum amount of muscles that you use when you jump. And we can actually train different muscles to turn on more and turn on less that hold you down. And we train people to actually jump higher.
Wow. So I want to turn off the muscles that hold me down for sure, and definitely turn on the ones that help you jump higher, right?
Yeah.
So you're measuring the brain during. I mean, explain. If someone walks into your lab, what does that look like? Are you hooked up to a machine with wires and cables, and then you jump, or how does that work?
Yeah, you're hooked up. We hook wires up over, and there's a couple main muscles that we use: the glutes, the quads, and the gastrocsoleus complex. And what we found through research is that for some reason, when we're born by about age 8, we learn to use a certain set of our muscle fibers. One muscle is actually made up of thousands of little individual fibers. And for some reason, some people learn to use 80, 90% of those fibers. Some learn to use about 50%. And so we use this in spinal cord injury all the time. We'll teach them to turn on more of those fibers that are undamaged. So in sports, we teach them to turn on about 80 or 90% of the muscles that they have. And if you're going from 50% of your muscle being used to 80, 90, you're going to have really good results.
So without giving away your trade secrets, how do you teach someone to turn on more of their muscles? Like, how does that work?
Certain exercises?
For certain exercises, there's a protocol that we developed down in Houston and then out in Birmingham, and you're watching a screen, you're hooked up to a monitor, and it's really trial and error. You're watching on the screen and learning to do it, and you can do it. The brain can actually watch 4 to 8 muscles at a time on a screen and actually control them. And,
so you're hooked to the machine, you've got the cables or the wires, and you jump, and then the screen tells you which muscles you're using, basically. And then you as the trainer say, now try to use this muscle group instead. So then you jump again, focusing on the other muscle group. And you can look on the screen and see, okay, I hit that muscle group. That's what it feels like.
And it's happening at real time, too. The important thing with that feedback is that you're watching. It's not like you get done and then watch. You're watching while you're doing it. So we will have them go through a protocol, and while they're jumping, they're actually controlling what they use and don't use. And so it's right when it's happening. It has to happen right when it happens. If you stop and look at it and try to learn from what you just did, it's a lot harder. You have to have real-time feedback.
And you know what it reminds me of a little bit is if I were learning to play a violin or something, where at first it just is screeching, but based on the way, basically I'm training my muscle memory.
Yeah.
But you're doing it in a way that generally isn't done. So to me, it's very intriguing. And I'm curious if you could maybe just tell us an example. What's it like working with anyone, I guess, but particularly seniors? So seniors come in. Tell us a little bit more about how that goes.
I like our seniors. Again, I'm out at Sun River, so we get a lot of really active people that come out there. We're starting to see a lot more seniors, a lot more active, and getting a lot more of our typical younger people injuries. Torn meniscus, torn Achilles. The typical injuries that you see from your younger athletes. And so it's been kind of fun. It's refreshing, to get people that are really active and have those, I wouldn't say fun injuries, but they're a lot funner for a physical therapist to rehab than just, getting old and getting weak. These guys are, you got 70 and 80-year-olds in this town that are whooping on, 40-year-olds that are pretty impressive.
Now the Huntsman World Senior Games, senior in that phrase doesn't mean 65 and older, like some people think. It means 50 and older, because in sports, senior athletics starts at 50.
Yep.
So my question would be then, just so that all the 50 and up will listen and not just the 64-year-olds or 65-year-olds out there, do you act as a coach as well, in that do you kind of motivate them or help them out of kind of their rut? Or do you just look at, this is the scientific stuff? Tell me a little bit about that.
We do a lot of that too. What we do is scientific, research-based, but it all ends up being motivation, trying to get that person. Once they see the results from the science, the motivation's easy.
I would imagine so, because we all like to see progress, whatever that is, with or without coaching, with or without training. We all love to see that, oh my gosh, look, I ran this 5K 10 seconds faster than I ran the last one, Yeah. So to be able to get real-time feedback on how to improve performance, I can only imagine is so rewarding, not only as a physical therapist and as a coach and as a trainer who's trying to help someone achieve that, but definitely as the trainee, as the one who's seeing that progress. Well, you gotta be loving that.
I got a pretty fun job. People will come in with injuries, and we'll have people that are, basically sidelined, from an injury, and we can fix their injury. And then a lot of times with the video analysis that we do, figure out why it happened. A lot of times it's their mechanics, the way they're running, and we break down everything from shoe to orthotic to weaknesses to mechanics, that they're born with, and we can get them running again.
See, I think that would be really motivating too, just because it's one thing to be like, no, I'm not going to do the dang 5K. Every time I do it, my knee hurts, and I'm just not going to do it anymore. To someone telling me, well, it's happening because of this, this, and this. And then all of a sudden I change those behaviors, and I'm actually enjoying my run.
Yeah.
That's motivating.
Pain doesn't happen for no reason. That's my saying. I always tell people there's always a reason. And at the company I work at, Mountain Land, I can spend really good time with each person, and we figure out why it's hurting. And that makes a big difference.
That's awesome. That's great. So can you tell us a success story without maybe disclosing
Sure.
Personal details, but tell us a story where you've actually really seen someone's life changed?
There's a lot of them. We had a guy who had bone spurs on his feet that used to be a triathlete. Had to stop running for 3 or 4 years, couldn't run. Came into the clinic, wanted to run. We analyzed him, found out that he was a huge hill striker, way beyond the parameters that scientifically are set. He was overstriding, and we changed that, and the guy's running again. He's running again, and it's fun after 3 or 4 years of not running, just changing the way he ran, overstriding and hill strike, and then a couple other little things, weaknesses. He's running again. He's happy.
Wow. And is he back competing, or is he still building up to that point?
He's not competing yet, but he runs probably 3 to 4 miles a day with no pain and getting faster. And that was just recently.
That's incredible. Those are the kind of stories that are motivating to me. You know, I thankfully don't have an injury right now that I'm dealing with, but I'm not much of a runner. You know, as I've mentioned on the show before. If you've been listening to the show, I proclaim that loudly and proudly that I am not a runner. So to the two of you that are out there listening, thanks. And I'm kind of motivated to see if I can maybe pick up my pace a little bit. I do run a little bit. I try to be healthy.
When you run more smoothly, it is a joy. You know, of course, I've trained myself. You know, who wouldn't if they knew all this stuff? And it is so much more fun to run when you're running smooth and it feels good and you're fast and you can feel that you're fast and there's no pain.
And that's where I have not. That's what I have not yet achieved. Yeah. I don't believe that I've ever felt that runner's high that people talk about. For me, it's still kind of like I have to do it, and so I'm going to, but I'm not loving it when I'm out there.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too.
And I should mention that it's not just all the injured people we train. We train some pretty good. Amber Green is one of our trainers, our trainees that we trained. She's won the St. George Marathon. Wow. Came in second last year. We were, but she's amazing. She came in and I thought, well, what are we going to fix on her? And there was little things that we fixed. She runs faster now and she's going to go for the Olympic trials here pretty soon. She's amazingly fast, but even if you're running fast already, you can always run faster.
That's what they say. Some days I feel that's out there, maybe reachable, but it's out there. Now, do you work with athletes besides runners? I know we've talked a lot about running being your specialty, but do you work with volleyball players and wrestlers and
work
football?
With pretty much every type of athlete, every type of athlete there ever was, we've probably worked with them.
And can you do the same kind of EMG analysis on
pretty much
non-running athletes?
If you can find something where they need a little bit more explosive muscle power, you can use it.
So whether it's a linebacker or a point guard,
blasting off the line,
a hitter,
a runner, sprinter coming out of the blocks, high jumpers, a
shortstop. I mean, pretty much any position you guys
anything
understand
that you need
well.
More muscle and explosiveness, you can use the EMG with.
Well, Steve, that is just exciting. Tell us one more time where you're at and how to get a hold of you.
Okay, I'm at Sun River, out there at Sun River, and we see people out there from Sun River and then all over St. George and the state. And then I'm out at Snow Canyon also on some days working out there.
And what's the phone number?
It's 767-9094.
Excellent. Well, Steve, that's about all the time that we've got for today. But thanks for the information. I mean, that's really kind of motivating and exciting. I hope we can have you back sometime and talk about some more things.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Very good. Well, I want to give just a little bit of Huntsman World Senior Games news. We've officially closed registration for the games. That happened on the 2nd of September. And if you missed registration, we hope that you'll consider joining us next year. But speaking of records, as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, we're on pace to smash our all-time participation record this year. I ran a registration report just before we came into the studio today, and we are currently sitting at 10,457 registered athletes.
Awesome.
And that number will probably grow as we process the mail-in registration forms and accommodate some team roster changes. So it's going to be a banner year for us. Our previous record, just so you know, is 10,178. So we've already smashed the record. It's just a question of how high will we go. So the games take place this year on October 6th through the 18th, and we're still in need of volunteers. If you want to be a part of the games and help out with this amazing event, you can go to our website at seniorgames.net and click on volunteer. We're specifically in need of medical volunteers. So if you were a nurse or a doctor, EMT, physical therapist, have any interaction in the healthcare industry, we could use your help. And don't forget to tune in next Thursday, where we'll continue to explore the active life. And for those of you outside the area, you can listen to the show on our website, again, at seniorgames.net. A final thought for the day: whenever I see someone running faster than me, I assume they aren't going as far. Until next Thursday, stay active. Stay active. Stay active.